everyone. So this is Vision IAS magazine and this is international relations topic of that magazine, and I will be explaining today this topic. Indian diaspora is the first topic. So total population of Indian diaspora is 31 million, which is a huge population, and the largest number of diaspora is of Indian origin, is of India. About Indian diaspora is a group of people who are currently living outside India. It means temporary or permanent, and those who can trace their origin to India. So it is that group of people who at some time live in India, but currently they are living outside India, either for permanent purpose or for temporary purpose. And also those citizens who trace their origin to India. It means that type of person whose father, grandfather was a citizen or eligible for citizen of India. Next is, it include non-resident Indians who are citizens of India and overseas citizens of India. So let's differentiate between non-resident Indians, means NRIs, and overseas citizens of India, it means OCI. So NRIs are basically citizens of India, but they are living abroad. But OCIs are citizen who, OCIs are the person who was a citizen of India on 26 January 1950 or after 26 January 1950. It means at that time, that is on 26 January 1950 or after 26 January 1950, she was eligible to become a citizen of India, or either he was or she was citizen of India. That means either he was a full citizen or was eligible for that, but not a citizen. So such person is OCI, who was either eligible for citizen on 26 January 1950, after 26 January 1950, or was citizen of India on 26 January 1950 or after 26 January 1950. It also includes persons of Indian origins, and these are foreign nationals. In 2015, PIOs and OCI card are merged. Some of the benefits of PIO and OCI card holders were different until it was merged in 2015. But once it got merged, all the benefits of the PIO card holder and the OCI card holder is same. It is the largest diaspora in the world, and it has a huge population of 31 million, in which NRIs are 13 million and PIOs are 18 million. Composition of the Indian diaspora is diverse. It consists of laborers, workers, traders, political leaders, professionals, students. For example, in US, UK, Canada, a lot of students go to study for study purpose. So there the maximum number of Indian diaspora are of student category, but laborers, workers, they mostly work in the Gulf region. They go to Saudi Arabia, UAE to work there. So there are different types of category of Indian diaspora which live in different countries, and they work either or they are a student. Next is largest recipient country of the world. So it has the largest diaspora population, we have already learned, and it is also the largest recipient country. It means the remittances are the money which Indian diaspora living abroad, temporary or permanent, sent to their native country, that is our country India. So it receives a huge amount of money from Indian diaspora, and it is about $87 billion, which is the largest recipient country of the world. Next is, India's engagement with its diaspora is characterized under the rubric of 4 C's: care, concern, celebrate, and contribute. So 4 C's are explained by the Ministry of External Affairs in Global Pravasi Rishta portal. Here the 4 C's are care. Care means care for their safety and security. It means it will ensure safety and security of the Indian diaspora living abroad. Connect will be connect with India, like Indian diaspora living abroad but they will not forget their homeland, that is India. They will be connected with India regularly. Then celebrate their cultural heritage and contribute to the development of the homeland, that is their native country. So what are the major lacunae that are identified by the committee in effective engagement with diaspora? So what problems does it face with engagement with Indian diaspora? So first is lack of authentic database. Registration by the diaspora is voluntary. It is registration is not properly fixed. Entire diaspora does not register with the Indian embassy's posts which are abroad set up. So they are not registered with these embassies and ports about their data, about their work. And the data also varies because of the mobility of diaspora, because some diaspora shift from one location to another. So due to mobility, due to change in the position of the diaspora from one country to another, data also vary a lot, and it becomes very difficult to trace a particular person or to provide it benefits which should be given to Indian diaspora. So authentic database has lackness. Exclusion of a large population. Low semi-skilled and blue-collar workers may not find place or feel comfortable to participate in the PBD celebrations. So here PBD celebration is Pravasi Bharati Divas. It is a national celebration and it is celebrated on 9th of January once every 2 years. So low semi-skilled and blue-collar workers. So these are basically type of worker who usually work in the Gulf countries such as Saudi Arabia and UAE. So these type of workers may not feel comfortable to participate in PBD celebrations, because in that celebrations so many types of diasporas come and they are very diverse from each other, and they may feel discomfort because they may be considered of low standard like that. So in the PBD celebrations, as the general profile of participants is seen to be of very high level, because participants have very high level profile, or either they are students studying in so many big universities such as Harvard and so many universities which are very much popular globally, and the other people, other diaspora, so they may feel excluded. Next is no clear policy. Policy of the government evolves based on the feedback. So the entire policy of the government is dependent on the what it get the feedback from the diaspora from time to time. It is no clear one-cut policy. Clear-cut policy. High number of unresolved grievances. So grievances are not resolved in embassies, consulates which are located abroad in the foreign country, in the host country. So there's a lot of grievances which are not resolved. So that is also a challenge to deal with the Indian diaspora. No specific scheme exists for the rehabilitation of the workers. So if our Indian diaspora lost their job in the another country where they were particularly living, and like for example due to COVID-19, many students, many workers who work in foreign countries return to their homeland due to COVID-19 pandemics, lockdowns. So there is no proper rehabilitation of these workers. There is no job scheme which provide them jobs for these workers. So what are the challenges in crisis situation? Challenges in crisis situation are like Indian students pursuing medical and other courses in Ukraine and China, that is an example, have been left in quaternary as they are neither being able to return to these countries and also could not rejoin their courses physically or complete their internship or training in India. So Indian students who were pursuing medical courses like in Ukraine there are so many people, there are so many students who are studying their medical courses, but due to Russia-Ukraine war they have to return to their native land, that is India. So they are not able to return to their countries due to war situations. They are not able to return to the Ukraine, and also they cannot rejoin the same course. Like if they are pursuing MBBS in Ukraine, so they cannot continue with the same MBBS from if they are in the second year, then they cannot continue in the second year of any in the Indian medical college. So because the course is very different, the language of the Ukraine is different from India, so Indian medical colleges do not admit such students. So there is a loss of study for these students. Also China have also issue because many students who pursue courses in China, and due to lockdown, COVID-19 pandemic, China has even in China, even after 2 years of COVID-19, China has recently started issuing visa to only few students, and there are no direct flights. So continuation of the study of Indian students who are pursuing in other countries is a major issue, is a challenge for Indian diaspora. So what are the recommendations of the committee? Bring out a policy document. Next is maintenance of data. There should be authentic database of the Indian diaspora who are living abroad at all the ministry level, whether it is Ministry of External Affairs or other ministries, and it should be used, this particular data should be used appropriately in preparing and implementing welfare schemes for diaspora communities. Welfare schemes also include rehabilitation of the diaspora, giving them jobs if they have left their jobs in the country outside India, and to pursue the courses in the Indian colleges. Review of Pravasi Bharati Divas. So it should review it, like proper participation has been done or not, and also include vulnerable sections of the diaspora community too, such as workers who may feel left out. They should be included in this particular event because it is the event for all the Indian diaspora. It should include all the sections of the Indian diaspora. Para-diplomacy. Closer interaction with the state government for successful implementation of programs and schemes. So all the Indian diaspora, India's relations with other countries are looked up by central government. But if there is closer interaction with the state governments of the India, so there will be proper implementation of all the programs and the schemes which are planned for the Indian diaspora. Qualitative and quantitative improvements in the grievance redressal system. Their grievances should be understood, understandable, and also they should be improved. They should be corrected by those who are responsible for correcting this. Organization of cultural events at missions, consulates, showcasing the rich historical and cultural heritage of India for cultural diplomacy and soft power projection abroad. So yes, soft power projection abroad is like it is like we have not in diplomatic ties with all the countries, but on lot of countries there are Indian diaspora spread across world. So the soft power is the relation of diaspora with that particular country and the involvement of diaspora, Indian diaspora in that particular country to promote and improve the condition of that other country. Ensure that the issues of interest of the migrant workers, including their grievances, are actually addressed through the said memorandum of understandings and agreements. All the grievances should be resolved, should be addressed. So there will be better collaboration with the Indian diaspora community. Comprehensive rehabilitation scheme must be worked in for those workers who lost their jobs due to pandemics or other disasters, for example in China or Ukraine. Coming to the next topic, it is Indian Antarctic Act 2022. So firstly we will learn about Indian Antarctic Act 2022, which is recently enacted. So this act aims to provide national measures for protecting the Antarctic environment. Before this, there was no official national act for Antarctica protection, environment protection. So this act aims for the protection of Antarctica environment and dependent and associated ecosystems, and it will give effect to Antarctic Treaty. Antarctic Treaty is given there. So Antarctic Treaty came into force in 1961 after being ratification by 12 original members, after accepted by 12 original members, that are Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, New Zealand, Norway, South Africa, USSR, which is now called Russia, UK and the US. So 54 countries have currently acceded it, and India signed this Antarctic Treaty in 1983, and it is consultative parties to the treaty. So consultative parties means India is consulted and given an opportunity to give advice on all the matters related to Antarctic Treaty. It is considered and its suggestions are upheld and respected. The treaty parties have also negotiated 3 international agreements collectively, which are called Antarctic Treaty System. These are given these conventions and protocol. Key objectives of the Act. So what are the objectives of this Act? It will prohibit Indian expedition to Antarctica. Expedition means a long journey for a special purpose to Antarctica. So it will prohibit any anonymously going journey to the Antarctica, also carrying out of certain activities in Antarctica without permission, without a permit. So it will prohibit all this. It means if someone or organization or any group of people have to go to Antarctica for special purpose, or like making a documentary on Antarctica or exploring it, knowing about its diversity, its flora, fauna, so it should have to take permission according to this act, and then it can go to that particular continent. Eliminating mining or illegal activities. So it will eliminate all the mining and illegal activities in the Antarctica region, and Antarctic Treaty also says that mining and illegal activities should be eliminated. So in Antarctica there are why mining in Antarctica? Because in Antarctica mineral deposits such as coal and iron ore, these are in the bulk, but no mining activity has been done yet, because due to Antarctic Treaty, which India has signed already in 1963. Next is fulfilling India's obligations under Antarctic Act and related conventions. So this act will fulfill the Antarctic Treaty obligations which it has signed and related conventions. It will give a forward approach to that treaty. Management of growing Antarctic tourism and sustainable development of fisheries resources in Antarctic waters. It will help to manage Antarctic tourism and sustainable development, increasing international visibility, credibility of India in polar governance, leading to international collaboration and cooperation in scientific and logistics field. So act which is passed, it will ensure India as a trustworthy in polar governance. It will give India status in the international arena that India is concerned about polar world, Antarctic, Arctic. So it will give a international collaboration platform and also cooperation in the scientific and logistics field. What are the key provisions of this act? Firstly is applicability. It will be applied to any Indian or foreign citizens. So this act is applied to the citizen of India or any foreign citizen too. Entities incorporated which are involved in exploration to Antarctica or other factors. Stabilized or registered under any law in force in India. Vessel or aircraft registered in India. This act will also apply to it. Establishment of a committee on Antarctic governance and environmental protection. Committee on Antarctic governance and environmental protection is established under this Antarctic Act 2022. Permit system. According to this act, there is a permit system by the committee or written authorization from another party to the protocol other than India will be required for various activities. So any party who is visiting to Antarctica or taking out any kind of activity in Antarctica should take permission from committee or take written authorization from another party, and it should be required. Constitution of the Antarctic Fund for research work related to research of the Antarctica, like global warming, how much it is impacting on this continent, polar ice caps are melting down, and other type of research work. For this and for the protection of the Antarctican environment, there will be a fund. There should be money contributed. It should be constituted a money for that. Stringent penalties. If someone does nuclear explosion in Antarctica, it could lead to imprisonment for 20 years. Central government notify one or more sessions court to be designated court which will give punishment related to offense in Antarctica. It will constitute an inspection team which will carry out inspections in Antarctica. According to this act, these are all the key provisions of this act. Now next is we will learn about the continent Antarctica. So it is 5th largest continent in the world, and just 2% of this continent is free of ice. It means 98% of this continent is fully freezed. It is of ice and nobody can explore that part, or in fact no flora, no fauna exist in the 98%, only that 2% hardy animals and plants live there. It holds 90% of Earth's total ice volume, and it holds 70% of its fresh water. But this fresh water is not accessible by other continents, so it is of not usable, but it holds a huge amount of fresh water. India and Antarctica. So India is a member of COMNAP, Council of Managers of National Antarctic Program. It is also a member of SCAR. India has 2 research stations at Antarctica. It has 2 research stations, Maitri and Bharati. So this is a fact and it is important. You should learn it, both the station's name. Next topic is supply of critical minerals. So why it is in news? Because India is not finding a place in the US-led mineral security partnership. So US has started a mineral security partnership as an alliance of 11 countries. According to this alliance, it will secure and it will strengthen the supply chains of the critical minerals. And India is not a part, it means India is not being included in this partnership, but India eagerly wants to participate and to be as an alliance in this mineral security partnership, and we will learn about why India wants to be a part of that MSP. So, alliance is basically aimed at catalyzing investment from government and private sector. It means government and the private sector will jointly invest, and it will ensure that countries realize their full economic development from their geological endowments. Geological endowments here means the countries that are rich in rare earth minerals and critical minerals. They should use their minerals, and they should at least get full economic development of these critical minerals. It comes in the backdrop of recorded demand for critical minerals and dominance of China. So here it is rare earth elements in the diagram. It is given lanthanides, the Democratic Republic of the Congo DRC, and People's Republic of China. So Democratic Republic of the Congo DRC is a country in Africa, and People's Republic of China is of China, and these both countries are responsible for 70% and 60% of the global production of cobalt and rare earth elements in 2019. So these both countries have a huge amount of critical minerals such as cobalt, and it also has a huge amount of rare earth elements. So firstly, we need to understand about critical minerals, like what are critical minerals and why is there so much significance of these particular minerals. So essential inputs, these are essential inputs in modern technologies such as lithium ion batteries, which are used in electric vehicles. So lithium is a critical mineral, and it is used in electrical vehicles, electrical vehicles are used for zero emission of carbon. So these are used in modern technologies, these are used in economies, and these are also used in national security. How critical minerals are used in or helpful in economy? So it will promote clean energy, like many of the critical minerals are used in electrical vehicles. So if clean energy is promoted, it is useful for sustainable development, and it will also improve the economy of the country. And national security, why critical minerals are important for or useful in national security? So these minerals, rare earth elements, all of them are used to produce engines, night vision equipments, and modern military technologies. So these are used for the security purpose, such as night vision equipments are very useful for internal security and also border management. So these are also used in national security. Engines are very used to run all the machinery, and it is also used in militaries, these critical minerals. So they are of very high significance for the national security. It includes metallic and non-metallic elements. Some are listed. These are elements. It has impact on the economy higher than other raw materials. So how much other raw materials contribute to economy of a country? It is very less when it is compared to critical minerals contribution to the economy of the country. It has a huge contribution. Why India's exclusion from MSP is a concern. MSP is US-led alliance, and India is excluded from it. Self-reliance. Building our domestic manufacturing capacity in semiconductors, batteries, etc. So India lacks it. India does not have a domestic manufacturing capacity in semiconductors. It usually borrow semiconductor from China, Taiwan and other countries, but it lacks for for their self-sufficiency, as they do not have the capacity to build own semiconductor for, in fact, for the whole country requirement. Promotion of energy efficiency through advanced electricity networks, energy efficient lighting and battery storages. So it will it will promote energy efficiency, but because it is very it is used, critical minerals are used for battery storage such as lithium ion batteries, and these batteries can be used in the e-vehicles, in e-cars, e-motorbikes, etc. So it will very useful for, it will for energy, and it will reduce the dependence of India on coal, oil so much. Faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles to cater requirements of e-mobility. Example, electric cars 6 times more have 6 times more critical minerals than conventional cars. So what conventional cars require, electric cars require literally 6 times more critical minerals than what the normal cars require, which uses fuel such as petrol, diesel. So the faster adoption, it should adopt this technology, it should adopt it as fast as possible, and it should manufacture it critical minerals by manufacture all the electric vehicles. So it will be helpful here for the zero carbon emission, and also there will be good electric vehicles capacity in the country. Where e-mobility is refers to clean and efficient transport using electric vehicles. It is powered by batteries or it is powered by hydrogen fuel cells. So they are very good technology based vehicles. Next is decarbonization of energy system through clean energy technology, which needs a higher amount of critical minerals, because it needs a higher amount of critical minerals. So the technology which is used should be there. What we have challenges in critical minerals supply. So there is very high import dependency of most countries, because mostly when so much countries depend on other countries, and Chinese dominance is so much in the rare earth minerals, because if we have critical minerals, like India have critical minerals, then there is a problem that it lacks the technology to extract it, to process it. So there is an import dependency. India depends a lot on other countries for critical mineral supply. Long project development leads times to move mining projects from discovery to first production. So it is a very long project. It takes a lot of time. Firstly, we need to discover that where critical minerals are there in the country. We need to locate that points, and then after discovery process, then we have to do production, in which we need a lot of technology, which India sometimes lack, which it has to borrow from other country, and other country are also reluctant to give technology, because they are taking benefit by supplying, by exporting critical minerals at a high rate, and when they give technology to the India, then the import dependence on India will be reduced. Next, leading to a prolonged period of market tightness. There is market tightness, means supply is constrained due to high demand, because there is so much high demand and supply is not that much. If anyhow it make critical India make critical minerals, but the cost of the critical minerals is very high. So the Indian investors will not purchase from their native country. They will try to purchase from other country. It's just like India produces a lot of mobile phones, such as companies like Lava, Spice. But why Indian people do not buy these phones in a huge amount? And like another brands such as Vivo, Oppo, they are like Indian people are purchasing these brands in a huge amount because these brands offer good quality product and also in an efficient price. But Lava Spice companies are good. They provide technology, they provide quality, but they somehow lack cost efficient. They are sometimes costly, so people do not purchase them. So it same applies to the investment in the critical mineral supply. When people organization try to invest on critical minerals, then they will not purchase native from the native country from the India. They will purchase from other country because there is cost efficiency and they are getting at the cheaper rates than in India. It will also increase environmental impact. So what are the way forward? Government has set up Khanish Bidesh India Limited, Kabil, and this will identify and this will locate the critical and strategic mineral assets, and it will signed bilateral agreements such as Australia India Critical Minerals Investment Partnership for mutual benefits. Like by this particular partnership, India will also get benefited and Australia will also get benefited for the critical minerals supply. Way forward is set up an intelligence center on critical minerals to study the future demand and supply and identify where there is a weakness, like what we lack to supply or to identify critical mineral, and then evaluate their impact and then take necessary actions for that, so that all the weaknesses should be reduced, eliminated. Focus on domestic exploration. Interagency cooperation is very much required. If there is no coordination between them, then ultimately critical minerals supply or exploration will not get enhanced. Promote expenditure on research and innovation. So improved mining and mineral processing technologies, reducing mineral intensity, and also finding a substitute material. Like if there is not a critical mineral, then find that what other mineral we can use in that particular product. So find an alternative. Enhance supply chain resilience by supply diversification, like not only taking minerals from one particular country. India should depend on so many countries. India should not depend on any country. It should be self-dependent. But if it is importing critical minerals, then it should not only import from China. It should import from other countries too. So supply diversification of critical minerals to weather short-term supply disruptions. So if strategic stockpiling, it means that there should be a huge stock of critical minerals in the country. So if there is a kind of supply disruptions in the world, so we have limited stock, we have required stock, so it will not disrupt the process of making all the products or all the equipment or anything which required critical mineral. Scale up recycling. So it will relieve pressure on primary supply, and it will also encourage public participation It means by recycling the critical minerals, it's just like plastic. By recycling the plastic, the primary producer or primary supplier of the plastic will get benefit. same is that applies to here, like if it is recycled, because it is already very limited, and if it is recycled, then there will be some kind of relief for those who are supplying critical minerals. And it will be done only by public awareness, like if someone is using a lithium ion battery, so it should not like throw it, it should return it, and that kind of step will give a huge impact. Next topic is our common security. So common security is a notion which is based on the assumption that no nation, no community or individual can be secure without one another. Communities and individuals enjoying the same level of security. So it is a kind of concept in which it considers that security is only based, it is interdependent. It is not my individual security, like my India security is alag, India security is different from China security or Bangladesh security or Sri Lanka security or US security, but it is a kind of security which which can be enjoyed in, or which can be acquired by cooperation between all the nations. Any conflict in one part of the world has cascading effects on the people of another. Just like Russia-Ukraine war. The war is in Russia and Ukraine, but it is impacting globally. It is impacting India too. It is impacting other countries too. It has raised oil prices a lot. It has raised inflation. It has raised CPI. It has raised food prices. It has disrupted the supply chain, all the supply of food items which come from Ukraine. The effect can be seen in the Ukraine or Afghanistan conflict on other developing countries, supply of food chain, fertilizer, fuel. Notion of common security is about non-violent approaches. So there should be no violence. It will be based on like peace and collaboration, talk and diplomacy. Risk to common security in the current era. Firstly, challenges to multilateralism in a multipolar world. So, before the Cold War, there were two multipolar. There were two superpowers. First was US and the second was USSR. But after the Cold War, US emerged as a superpower, and now currently it is considered that US is a superpower, and also China is emerging also as a superpower. So it is called multipolar world. One side US, one side China. It is multipolar world, it is multilateralism. Respect for the core principles of international humanitarian law is increasingly under threat, such as witnessed in recent conflicts such as Iraq, Palestine, Israel, Yemen, Syria and Ukraine. So in all these countries, the internationally based humanitarian law is under threat. It is not being followed. For example, in Iraq, there is a political crisis and they are demanding for change in the regime, and so they are not following the internationally based law. They are not accepting those laws. And also in Israel, Palestine, there is a constant state of war. They threw very military equipments. They use so much military equipments to target each other, which is not under the international law, which is a boycott of that law, or which is not under that particular international law. Militarization, massive investments in faster, more lethal nuclear weapons. So lethal means very much harmful nuclear weapons. So if there is an investment too much faster and there are so much nuclear weapons, like investment in nuclear weapons is so much. So it will increase tension between nuclear armed states, and new technological developments present a severe danger to international security. Arms race is very problematic for global peace, because if one country is increasing continuously arms, for example, North Korea frequently test nuclear bombs, and they are supposed to increasing their nuclear weapons. So if nuclear weapons are continuously increased, so there will be tensions and there will be problems, and the nuclear weapons are very very harmful. Like in the Hiroshima and Nagasaki case, it was like a nuclear bomb destroyed the whole city. And nowadays highly weaponed, high technology nuclear weapons will destroy a huge amount, and there is a threat from Russia-Ukraine war from the Russia side that nuclear weapons may be used. So these kinds of problems are there. Korean Peninsula, like North Korea, represents one area of particular concern. Nuclear tensions are so much high and they are continuously increasing militarization. So there are two, there is a Korea, and one is North Korea and another is South Korea. So they both are not in a good terms. They both continuously showcase their military power and equipments. So there may be nuclear tensions. Authoritarian regimes shrinking democratic space. Non-democratic states not only threaten regional and global peace, but also fail to provide safety or security for their own citizens. So if there is no democracy, so there is no law for which citizens will fight. Nobody can claim anything that this is wrong or right, because it is authoritarian. So it will ultimately lead to their unsafety, and their security will also be halted. But in a democratic country, there are rule-based order. There is a law which government follows, so people can claim their fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and all the other provisions which are in the constitution. So it provides safety and security for their own citizens. Global warming and the climate crisis. 15 countries which are facing the worst economic threats in the world, 11 are currently in conflict. So ecological threats also are there in the world. If there is a global warming, then it impacts a large number of countries, and there's a chance of conflict between developed countries and developing countries, because developed countries have already developed their infrastructure, they have developed technology, but developing countries are in the line of developing their infrastructure. They're developing which required fuel, which required coal, petroleum, and which causes global warming. And if there should not be equal treatment for developed and developing countries, because developed countries are also already developed, but developing countries are trying to install new type of infrastructure project which are already there in developed countries. So there may be fight or issues between developed and developing countries. And also island nations such as Maldives, Mauritius, these are very much under threat, because when climate, like somebody is a huge contribution in the climate change. Like if US has a huge contribution in the climate change, China has a huge contribution in the climate change, in the global emission, but the impact is not on them. Impact is on the island nations. Like their cities are droned and they are under threat. So but they are not responsible for emission, so it will lead to conflict. Already example is given like 15 countries which are facing ecological threats, 11 are in conflict. Inequality. Rising income inequality also leads to increasingly polarized politics, ascendance of populism, nationalism, which may spiral into violence and war. If there is an inequality, then ultimately the people will not accept it, and also there will be violence, war. But if there is a equality, there is less difference between the rich and the poor people in the country, so it will give peace and security for the country and for the globally also, for global world also. Current and future pandemics, like recently 2020 COVID-19, the world was not aware of it, and it was unfunded, and like social protection system, health inequality, growing health inequality, and vaccine equity exposed that the weakness in recent pandemic preparedness. If we are not prepared for COVID-19 pandemic, then it will cause conflict, and prevention and highlights vulnerabilities for future pandemics, and also leads to higher chances for a future pandemics, because if you are not able to manage this pandemic in a good manner, then it will also predict that future pandemics are also at a vulnerable situation if it will come. Ways to achieve common security. So what are the methods? So firstly, encouraging regional bodies such as SAARC. So SAARC is a group of the Asian countries, and it will to strengthen this we can achieve common security. GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, African Union, these are all of different continents cooperation bodies, and to develop frameworks that incorporate the principles of common security. So in these particular regional bodies, there should be developed framework which work towards common security, which works in a group to protect their nations. Just like NATO is an alliance in which there are so many European countries involved with each other, and also US, and they are entitled to protect each other whenever there is an attack on one country. Although in SAARC there is not like this situation, because in SAARC there is India and Pakistan, and it does not make it possible to achieve cooperation. The strategic stability talks between the USA and Russia. USA and Russia are not in good terms, they are in conflict. So if there is a dialogue between USA and China, and there is a stability talks between USA and Russia, and the talks should be like all the elimination of the nuclear weapons, like nuclear disarmament should be there, so it will also achieve common security. Like if there will be no nuclear weapons, so one country cannot threaten another country for like one nuclear weapon state cannot threaten another non-nuclear weapon state to use nuclear weapon, and in case two nuclear weapon state are in conflict, they cannot threat to each other for the use of such weapons which are of very much mass destruction. Then integrating climate related security risks into United Nations conflict prevention strategies. Climate related security risks should also integrated in the UN strategies, United Nations strategies. It should be included in this. Then we should finding innovative ways to utilize nuclear equipment, because nuclear equipment should not be used in throwing at each other in the countries, but it may be used in other purpose also. Like nuclear energy is a very good source of electricity. So in these ways, there should be an innovative way to use the nuclear equipments. Then there reduction in military spending to generate a global peace dividend. So every country should aim to reduce their military spending in the military equipments, in military persons, and the fund which is saved, it should fund the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It should fund the UN peacekeeping and climate friendly jobs, and just a transition a just transition to climate friendly jobs. It means military jobs should not be there. There should be instead climate friendly jobs, because military equipments cause climate problems, and if there is climate friendly jobs, then climate will also be protected, and if there is a reduction in military, then climate will ultimately be protected. Reinstate arms control treaties, particularly regarding nuclear weapons and their delivery systems. So reinstate means to return to the former position. It means return to the previously planned treaties. For example, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. So the Intermediate INF Treaty, it was the first treaty to eliminate nuclear weapons between USA and Russia, but somehow it failed. So it should also this point is trying to say that it should return to INA treaty and do negotiations in that. Then ban cyber attacks on nuclear command and control systems. So nuclear command and control system are very sensitive. They are all computerized based system. There is computer based system, and if there is a cyber attack, it can leads to destruction in the space as well as other countries too. Prohibit autonomous weapon system. Autonomous weapon system are those systems which do not work by human, which work on their own computer based memory. They should be prohibited to ensure that humans keep control over weapons in armed conflict. Like no unarmed or without human autonomous weapon system should not be encouraged. It should be prohibited because it can lead to mass destruction and other issues too. Strengthen the Outer Space Treaty, like space governance, like two countries aiming to destroy their satellites. So there should be a kind of space governance. There should be a treaty, like nobody can no country can destroy the satellite of each other. They will live peacefully in the space. So that should be strengthened. NGOs must play an active role in advocacy work and raising awareness. Next topic is nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So I will be explaining this topic on the next video, which is 2B.